Edinburgh has just been put on full alert. The tower has reports of an incoming plane with loss of power to the port engine due to a bird strike.
Runways 12, aircraft type Fokker 27, 13 POB, nature of trouble, multiple bird strike, and ETA 1940, read back.
9606, get a message, tower, aircraft accident imminent, can you all sets please attend at the RVP.
The tower controllers follow a strict procedure informing all airport emergency services and airport management.
All report please, Stephen Riddle, open up here.
1940, thank you. Your PDX report please.
The stricken plane is 9 minutes away and a decision is made to clear the runway.
3005, just hold everybody off now.
Within minutes, the senior management gather in offices adjacent to the terminal building to assess the level of the crisis and check emergency procedures. As the airport's fire service rush into position, the air traffic controllers contact the external emergency services, giving instructions on RV.
Loading aboard is Edinburgh Tower, full emergency. And it's runway 12.
That's 301 in attendance.
301, right, yep. Okay. We'll get that put on the board, please. 301 in
301.
attendance. Plane's not down yet, so once it's down, we'll get you out there.
Right, Tom.
But whilst the entire airport is on high alert, this is just a full-scale simulation called an emergency preparedness test. There is no stricken plane.
Exercise, contact Airport Bravo, Airport Control.
So the whole point of running an annual exercise is making sure that the plan actually does what it says in the tin, and we identify if there's any shortfalls.
OK, thanks mate, cheers.
The test is made as real as possible because the airport's licence depends on it. The Civil Aviation Authority sets a variety of scenarios to road test safety, and they're on site to observe the airport's response.
We're looking for the crisis management team to do what their responsibility is, and that is to provide support to the people out in the field who are responding to the accident, as well as to the people in the terminal and the reception area.
To enhance the experience, the dummy plane has volunteers on board playing the role of dazed passengers.
We might ask them to take their role quite seriously and elaborate, and depending on how much pain they're in, let's say, to try and make the exercise realistic as possible. We did an exercise a number of years ago, and one individual in particular had to be marched off the actual exercise ground because this individual took things a bit too serious, and there was almost a fight broke out. I think he got a bit excited about what he was doing, and he certainly his acting wasn't that great.
Information is intentionally patchy. The emergency services and management involved are given just fragments of information to let them work out for themselves the size and scale of the emergency.
We're advised we've got 10 passengers, 3 air crew, and we have no known serious injury fatalities, and in fact all have now been recovered to the reception centre, which is great. The first hour is really just a data gathering exercise. You've got to put your trust in the guys out front to, one, do their job right, and two, ask for help if they need any assistance. So the fact that there's silence from the front is actually a really good sign. It means they're probably doing their job really easily.
To test the crisis response further, the CAA scenario included an extra element. What would happen if the emergency services failed to spot a fuel leak?
Director 11 from Director 1 over. The aircraft is being made safe.
Throughout the exercise there is a few wee testers that are put in, and that is obviously dynamic assessment that the individual needs to carry out how they're going to deal with it. Because if we told everybody everything, then it would be too easy to plan for.
Leaking fuel is not the only problem. In the event of any legal proceedings, the rescued crew and passengers must be kept apart until they have been properly interviewed.
Right, okay, so we've got airline staff and we've got passengers in the same bus. Right, that shouldn't happen. No.
It just feels like chaos. It's maybe even more chaotic than a real live incident, to be perfectly honest, because of the number of extra people that are sort of hanging about. And you kind of go, Who's in charge?
Every detail of the test is recorded and monitored. Regardless of what goes right or wrong on the night, the team will use the information to help minimise the risks in case of a real incident.
If we didn't come away with action points, I'm sure it would just be a tick in the box exercise, and there's no point in doing that.
And real incidents do happen. Gordon Dewar was the managing director of Glasgow Airport on the day of their biggest emergency.
I was in Glasgow when we had the terrorist attack there, and that's genuinely high adrenaline stuff where first of all you're worried about people's safety and life, and even when you've realised that, you know, thankfully at that time there was nobody we cared about had been so badly hurt or killed, thankfully, you've then got a real issue of substantial damage to the building. How long is it going to take before you can get the business up and running again? We had something like 6,000 people queuing up outside the airport wanting to go on their holidays, and you start getting an interesting level of conflict where the police are rightfully wanting to protect evidence, but my tension is I want my airport back, please. Now, you know, I would never wish it on anyone, and it was not only was it a very frightening experience for us and a very unwelcome one, and it also cost £4 million for the business, and not something you want to be doing very often. But in a funny sort of way, these sorts of, even the exercises are really great for teamwork, because people can understand just how much you can achieve if you operate together as a team with shared goals and shared understanding of how we're going to do things.
As part of the crisis area, Gordon has set up a dedicated business recovery room.
And the other thing we're sort of starting to think about is any impact on tomorrow morning's start-up with people arriving either early, got questions, so we'll set ourselves up ready to accommodate those questions in the morning.
Okay.
As much as it's important to make sure that we're dealing with the here and now, it's important so we think about the future, and particularly as this has happened in the evening, we need to make sure that obviously, because we're closed overnight generally, that we're ready for the start-up in the morning. So some of the things we're thinking about is what the passengers are likely to be responding to this. So will they turn up early tomorrow? Will some not want to turn up at all? Does it affect the schedule tomorrow morning with respect to any diversions? And we'll progress from there, really. So it's just keeping it live and keeping ahead of the game so that we're ready for whatever comes.
Keeping one eye on safety and the other on business is essential to the modern privately owned airport, as closure could lose up to £500,000 a day in costs and lost revenue.
Right, Gordon, I think you took the update from Bronze.
Yeah, to say that the incident at 9:15 was stood down at the plane, and we've just had news that the reception centre has been stood down as well.
So effectively, I think the incident per se is done. We'll get a formal close in a minute. Okay, thank you very much for a very slick operation. Well done. And we'll get a chance to have a debrief on this tomorrow. I will have a hot debrief tonight. We'll get a proper chance after. Thank you for your time.
The emergency preparedness test simulates the threat of complete shutdown.
Hello, control centre. Ambulance,
But every day at the airport, staff deal with smaller emergencies, many of which can be just as life-threatening.
Stand 4, thanks, air traffic. So that's an ambulance required for an inbound flight from Milan with EasyJet. Ambulance, please. Edinburgh Airport, stand 4. Rendezvous at the Hilton Hotel. 72-year-old male passenger has suffered a stroke, seated in seat 1 Echo. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi, it's the control centre, Sergeant. We're going to have an ambulance coming in to stand 4. We've got a medical emergency on board the aircraft. OK, thank you. Thanks, bye-bye. Now, because it's on an aircraft, the airport fire service would be the ones to attend as first aiders if the ambulance was going to be late.
Davey, just if you need a hand on the first aid call, give me a shout on the radio and I'll pop over, and I don't mind helping if you need it.
The fire service can stand down as the ambulance has arrived and the passenger is taken to hospital.
Hello, control centre. OK, thank you, bye-bye.
As with most busy travel hubs, ambulances are called nearly every week, but it's not always the passengers who need them.
I've had a couple of ambulances come for me, I suppose. The first time was many years ago, before the extension was built, and I did take a funny turn in the airport one night. People will have you think that it was the egg sandwiches I made for everyone's supper, but it was nothing to do with those. The duty manager even threw hers in the bucket after I took the turn. She was scared to eat them. I don't believe it myself.
Who was that?
Liz.
Over the summer.